All right, guys, welcome. Thanks for coming out, being out, hanging out. Love hanging out on Friday nights. It's one of my favorite times of the week. Let me ask this question, though, real quick. Why do y'all love sitting on the sides and not in the middle? Oh, because of the games. Okay, because like all of a sudden, like week to week, all of a sudden, everyone's just kind of like dispersed. I'm like, I have to do one of these. I'm like, yo, do I smell or something like that? Everyone's just like, they just dispersed to the sides, but that's cool. I don't mind looking left to right. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I'm excited about closing up this series. This is the last week of this series. Next week, we're doing our Winter Olympics, RY Olympics. I promise you that's going to be a ton of fun. You got a ton of prizes. I don't even know if did we talk about the prizes? Because I wasn't obviously paying attention to the announcements, apparently. Did you talk about the prizes? No? Okay, we're giving like hundreds of dollars away of swag. So you want to be here, just keep an eye on our social media, and that's kind of how you'll find out how you can win that stuff. We got prizes for the first place team. We even got prizes for the last place team. So trust me, you want to be here. It's a ton of fun. So invite your friends. So we want to see all y'all come out next week. But I want to close this series off, and if you've been with us the last couple of weeks, or if you're new, I'll just kind of run through it very quickly. We've been talking about what it means to be totally fine. And what does that look like? How can I be fine right now in this life? And how can I keep going and keep living my life in a positive way? And the first week we kind of talked about what does fear look like and how does that play a part in our lives? You know, how does fear actually, work with us? And can it be positive, can be negative? And we kind of all know that there's a negative element to fear, but do we really know how much it actually controls us? So we talked a lot about fear that first week. And last week, we talked about what it meant to be lazy. And I know some of y'all were a little, that cut a little deep, because I know it cut me deep. But we talked about what lazy meant and what the Bible actually had to say about lazy people. And this week, I actually want to talk about how do I stay motivated. So when I say the word motivate, what's the first things that pop in your mind? Motivate. Jimmy, you gotta put your hand up. Ability to keep something in your head. Okay, so I saw somebody else put their hand up over here. No? Jaden, you put your hand up? No, Dave snitched on you. So, Rashawn, motivate. Determined, okay? Anyone else? Motivate. I think I heard you yell. What did you say? Huh? Working out. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Motivate. Give me a few more. Ryan. Driven. Okay. Any more? Caleb. Committed, okay? Motivate. What does that mean to you? Micah, what does it mean? I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. What does it mean? Okay, you don't know either. Okay, that's fine. Isaiah, huh? One more time. Inspire. Okay, cool. So different definitions of motivate. Kind of like, you guys have kind of all described motivate with just different words that all kind of mean motivate. Driven, committed, but what do those words actually mean, and how do we actually apply motivation to our lives? Because it's nice to say like, oh, I'm motivated, but what does that look like? How do we stay motivated? How do we continue being motivated? How do we actually apply that in a practical way in our lives? How do we not be lazy and actually be motivated? And so I actually want to look at a very, very specific story in the Bible about a very specific man in the Bible. His name is Nehemiah. But I'm going to keep saying his name all night, so I just don't want to have to say Nehemiah the whole night. So I'm just going to call him Nini. Is that cool? You okay with that? Okay, then that way I don't have to fumble over his name. But my guy over here, Nehemiah, I'll just say it for the first few times so that you know who he is. We find this guy in the Old Testament. It's actually a book in the Bible. It's a story about him. And I want to give you some backstory before we kind of get into where I want to talk about, the portion of the story I want to talk about. But God's chosen people, the Israelites, the Jewish people, there was a period of time in the Bible where they were actually captured and they were slaves and they had to move from where they were and had to move to a different nation. And that nation was called Babylon. Okay? So it's kind of like if America came, said, no, you're no longer Canadians. We're going to move all y'all to America. You're going to be Americans. Okay? We're going to wield our guns and Second Amendment rights and all that fun stuff, okay? So that's what it would kind of be like. So they took over this nation and literally physically moved them out of their lands into the Babylonian lands and asked all these people, the Jewish people, to give up all their heritage, their customs, everything, and they were told to be, you have to be like us. You have to be like the Babylonians. And then, after a while, they got free of that, and they were free to go back to their lands. The problem is, imagine, just for a second, okay? Just think about this, okay? If America took all of us, all 33 million of us from Canada, okay, and literally said, you're all moving across the border, okay, down south to the border, and this land was free in Canada, what do you think would happen? What would happen? Other nations would take it over, right? They would use that land. They would find the resources. They would come in and make use of it. And that's exactly what happened to the Jewish people. They lost their land, and other nations around them were like, yo, this is free. Freebies for us. And they came, they took whatever they wanted, they destroyed things, and they took the resources out of there, and they took it back to their lands. And so when they came back, there really was nothing left for them in their lands. And so a lot of people were living on the outskirts of the main city. It's kind of like, we're in Toronto, that would have been Jerusalem for them. And it's like everyone was living in the villages, kind of like Oshawa or Whitby. Or, the Vaughan. Or Richmond Hill. Or let me really come for it, downtown. I'm just playing. Don't come at me, Dave. Don't come at me, okay? All right? So it's kind of like Jerusalem was the main city, right? But everything was destroyed there. So all these people were just kind of making villages on the outskirts of the city, okay? And so there's this guy named Nehemiah, and they've been like this for almost 94 years or so. They were allowed to return, and yet nothing was being built. And the number one thing you're going to want to do in any city, think of the Middle Ages, Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff like that. What are you going to want to do if you want to protect your city? What's the number one thing you're going to want to do? Build walls to protect it. Okay? Obviously, right now, our nations don't really have physical walls. Unless you're America, then you build a wall on the Mexico border, right? But we have cybersecurity and missiles and all that kind of stuff. Like, those are kind of our defense systems. But the wall, physical wall, was the defense system of any major city. And so Jerusalem had none of that. It was destroyed. And so there was a guy named Nehemiah who was a high-ranking Jewish official, but he wasn't even living there. He was actually serving in the Persian kingdom. So he was actually a high-ranking member of the Persian royalty. He was a cupbearer for the king at the time. And Nehemiah felt this huge burden as a person who was Jewish. These are his people. This is his land. And he felt this huge burden that nothing was happening back in his hometown. He heard about it. He's known about it. He's okay, these guys are nothing's getting built and nothing's happening. And so finally, he prayed and prayed about it. And finally, the king allowed him and released him to go home and rebuild the city, rebuild the walls of the city. And so that's what Nehemiah did. He went back to Jerusalem. He went and gathered all the leaders. He encouraged them. He encouraged the people. And he challenged them. And then they said, all right, let's go. Let's do this. This is our city. We got to build this wall. We got to fortify it again and claim our lands. And that's kind of the backstory of who Nehemiah was. He was this guy who came in and set the people up and said, all right, let's go. Let's just build this and let's get our city back. Let's get our land back. And this is where we find this portion of the story. And I'm going to read it. It's a lot. It's Nehemiah chapter 4, verses 6 to 23. So I'm just going to read it, but then we're going to kind of break it down and go through it. Okay? Cool? Everyone good? It'll pop up on the screen for you. So I'm going to start on verse 6 here, GP. Okay, so it says, and this is Nehemiah writing this, okay? So it says, at last the wall was completed to half its height around the entire city, for the people had worked with enthusiasm. But when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the Hashadites heard that the work was going ahead and that the gap in the wall of Jerusalem were being repaired, they were furious. They all made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw us into confusion. But we prayed to our God and guarded the city day and night to protect ourselves. Then the people of Judah began to complain. The workers are getting tired, and there's so much rubble to be moved. We will never be able to build the walls by ourselves. Meanwhile, our enemies were saying, before they know what's happening, we will swoop down on them and kill them and end their work. The Jews who lived near the enemy came and told us again and again, they will come from all directions and attack us. So I placed armed guards behind the lowest parts of the wall in the exposed areas. I stationed the people to stand guard by families armed with swords, spears, and bows. Then I looked over the situation. I called together the nobles and the rest of the people and said to them, don't be afraid of the enemy. Remember the Lord, who is great and glorious, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. And when our enemy heard that we knew of their plan and that God had frustrated them, we all returned to our work on the wall. But from then on, only half my men worked, while the other half stood guard with spears, shields, bows, and coats of mail. The leaders stationed themselves behind the people of Judah who were building the wall. The laborers carried on their work with one hand supporting their load and one holding a weapon. All the builders had sword belts to their side. The trumpeters stayed with them to sound the alarm. Then I explained to the nobles and officials that all the people, the work is very spread out, and we are widely separated from each other along the wall. When you hear the blast of the trumpet, rush to wherever it's sounding, then our God will fight for us. We worked early and late, from sunrise to sunset, and half the men were always on guard. I also told everyone living on the outside of the walls to stay in Jerusalem. That way them and their servants could help with guard duty at night and work during the day. During this time, none of us, nor I, nor my relatives, nor my servants, nor the guards who were with me, even took off our clothes. We carried our weapons with us at all times, even when we went for water. Okay, so if you want to build a wall, if you want to be successful, if you want to rise up, we must understand there's some requirements. So now this is where you're going to kind of give me some answers here. What would some of these requirements be? What would it look like for this team of people, Nehemiah and his crew of people, to build this wall knowing that there are people around plotting to destroy it, to bring it down, to take over them and put fear on them? What would it take to continue to build this wall? Yeah, I'm looking for some answers. Motivation. Who said that? Michael. Okay. Tina. Courage. What else? What would it take to be successful? Dave. Lot of sacrifice. Rashawn. Sorry? A good plan. Anything else? One more. Give me one more. Straight up work. So some of you said this already. Dedication, commitment, a willingness to make the necessary sacrifices. So there are a couple of things that we can learn about the secret to their success, because not only were Nehemiah and these people able to build this wall, they actually were able to build this wall in 52 days. We can't even build the railway at Eglinton and Allen Road in, in the century at this point. Let's just say it that way, right? How long are you going to build the Finch line? Because you're on Finch, right? How long is that going to take? Another 5, 10 years? Next year, okay. These guys did it in 52 days with their bodies. That's it. That's all they had. They had to build walls high, nice and high, to withstand armies. So how did they do that in 52 days? What'd that look like? How did they work? So here's the first thing it looks like to be motivated, to not be lazy. Be fully committed to your work. If you're going to write it down, write that down. Be fully committed to your work. In verse 6, at the very top, it says, "At last the wall was completed to half its height around the entire city, for the people worked with enthusiasm." What does the word enthusiasm mean? Yeah, I know, I'm making you guys do some work here tonight. I'm not just doing the work myself. What does the word enthusiasm mean? Dave, no more answering from you. You've been answering all night. Enthusiasm, what does it mean? Rashawn, not from you either. Tina, not from you either. You've been answering all night. Becky. Excited. What else? Enthusiasm, what does it mean? Ryan. Positive. Spirit. Yes. Skylar. Passion. So the people worked to build a wall with their hands, and they built it with excitement, with passion, with, what did you say? With spirit. So this means they were fully committed to doing their work. They had a desire to have a determination and press on to it. Do you think for any second that picking up stones every single day and laying it on top of each other is fun work? Anybody? Anybody enjoy that? I know for a fact, not last year, the year before Rihanna, none of them enjoyed that work, did they? When the summer students were here working and doing renos and stuff like that, right? Because I remember outside in the yard when they had to take all those stones, they were complaining, and y'all were getting paid, and they were complaining. But these people were not even getting paid. They were just doing it for their city. And they did it with passion and enthusiasm. They had a commitment to finish the work. In fact, according to verse 16, they even sacrificed their rest time. It says, but from when on, only half the men worked, while the other half stood guard with spears, shields, bows, and coats of mail. And when they weren't working, they were on guard duty, and they would flip. So half would work, half would watch the thing, and then they would switch the work. So they wouldn't stop to take a break. And according to verse 22, they also sacrificed their comfort. They were so committed to guarding the work that they were not willing to even let at night have the enemy come and break up the areas that were the weakest. So they had guards working during the day on the wall, and then they would work as guard duty at night. And they would work with one hand and hold their swords and spears with the other, to be ready to fight at any given time, because they didn't know when the enemy was going to come. Even verse 23 took it further. They didn't even have the luxury of changing their work clothes except to wash them. Some of y'all take 2-3 hours to get ready in the morning or in the afternoon when you wake up sometimes, right? Like trying to say, like, oh, does this fit look right? Oh, no, okay. Like, okay, I got the fit. Now I got to get my sneakers in there. Oh, no, the sneakers don't look right. These guys didn't even have the luxury to take off their clothes. They kept it on them at all times because at any given point, it could be over for them. And so they were committed to what they were doing. We need commitment. We have to have a mind to work like those who built the wall of Jerusalem. Dave, where are you at? It's around you somewhere. Come here. I need another volunteer for me real quick. Oh, yeah, Kabir. Yeah. That's a perfect volunteer. Come up here, Kabir. Okay, Dave, pop up here. All right, so I got this basket, makeshift basket, like a basketball basket, okay? Some of my ballers, you'll appreciate this. I wish you guys would have volunteered. Dave, you can stand over here. Kabir, come over here. You're going to take this duct tape ball, okay? It's a little hard, okay? Dave, you're on defense.
Yep.
Kabir, you got to score. Okay? Dave, do whatever you can. Don't let him score because your pride's on the line. You're not going to let this skinny guy right here, a quarter your size, you're not going to let him score on you, are you?
No.
That's pride on the line. All right, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Kabir. You're not going to let my big man over here stop you from scoring, right? Because all the girls are watching you, right? They want to know you got muscles, right? You could do this, right? All right, go ahead. Let's see. Go ahead. You got to score right here. The basket's right here just waiting for you. No, I don't think you were close at all. No. You want to give it one more try? Yeah. You want to give it one more try? Because I don't know if you actually put in all the effort. Do you guys agree that he put in effort? Kind of didn't look like you put in effort, Kabir. The people want more. You want to put some effort in? See, sometimes we look at something like this. Thank you. Go ahead, Kabir. You okay? You want to try one more time? Yeah. Oh, you want to try one more time? Okay. Okay, sometimes. Okay, so sometimes it looks like we try, and when we see something in our way, and we're like, it's too big, it's too hard, we're not sure if we're going to get through. So we already start scared. We already start a little bit intimidated. See, I think if I was there facing you, you would have been a little bit more like, okay, let's go. Yeah? But when you saw Dave, you're like, oh, no. You had to try to find, okay, let me get some distance, see if I can get it over him. Right? So sometimes we start intimidated. But being committed to our work means that we cannot be intimidated by our problem in front of us. See, Jerusalem, the people of Jerusalem knew that the enemy was there. They knew that they were coming. They knew they had no wall. And they were hearing that the enemy was going to come at any given time and intimidate them. But yet, they had to decide at some point that they got to go in and put the work. They got to decide that they were willing to go for it all and not sacrifice what it meant. See, I was not scared of Dave, and even though he took me out, I would go right back in and slam it in because I got it in. And he slammed me to the ground. Thank you for that, by the way.
You got it in?
Oh, I got it in. I got it in so hard I took the basket down. Right? What was the difference between me and Kabir? What was the difference? Who said that? Also shattered my elbow. Because Dave really laid me out. What's the difference? What was the difference in our attitude? I was willing to do what it took to get my basket in. I was willing to put my body on the line because I knew Dave was going to slam me down if I tried to go over him. Because I knew he was going to be able to grab me and just chuck me down. And that's exactly what he did. But I was committed to the work. I was committed to know that I am going to accomplish what was in front of me. My goal was to get that ball in the basket. And I was going to do whatever it took, even if it meant I was going to go over Dave to get there. Because I certainly wasn't going to be able to do this and try to duck around him. I had to catch Dave by surprise and go all in and take a chance. But I was committed to the work. Just like the people of Jerusalem had to be committed to their work. They had to decide that every day they were going to keep building that wall no matter what was going to happen. They didn't know if the enemy was going to come left or right at that point. All they heard was rumors and rumors. But they had to decide, in order to protect, in order to win, in order to complete what's in front of you, you got to decide that you're willing to put the work in. You got to be willing to make the sacrifice. Now, I'm going to feel this sacrifice tomorrow. I'm going to feel it. But guess the difference between me and Kabir, and this is not a cap on Kabir because he didn't know what he was doing. He just did what he was told to do. But the difference was, I was willing to take the risk. I was willing to put it all on the line. I was willing to embarrass myself to get to my goal because I wanted to commit to the work. I also wasn't going to tell somebody to do that and get themselves hurt and have some of your parents come at me later. So the question is, are you committed enough to your work? Whatever that work is. It could be you're trying to get good at school. It could be that you're just trying to better yourself. You're trying to improve. You're maybe feeling depressed and you're like, hey, I got to get motivated. But are you putting in the work? Are you committing to yourself to get better? Are you laying it all out there to get the goal accomplished? See, some of y'all tell me you want to do well in school, but you committed to the effort to do it. Some of you tell me, I want to get a job. Are you committed to your work to get a job? Some of you tell me, I want to be in a better relationship with Jesus. I want to be happy. I want to be excited like you, John. Are you committed to put the work in? Are you willing to put the work in? And to some degree, it's going to require a little bit of uncomfortableness. A little bit of, it's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to, I got to hold my sword like these Jewish people. I got to pick up a stone with one hand while I got my hand on the sword. Because at any given time, somebody's going to come. I got to be able to pull it out and stab them. And then not only am I doing the work on the wall, now I got to turn around and I got to be on guard duty. Are you willing to take the sacrifice and put the work in? Because sometimes you got to put the work in for a season. Right? Sometimes when you're in school, you get into that crunch time. There's a crunch period, right? Exams for high school students, what's that, June? End of June? Somewhere in there when you all do exams? University, it's like, what, May right now? April, May, somewhere around there? So you get into that crunch time, that crunch window. And you got to put a little bit of extra work in. Are you committed to doing what you got to do? Or you get into that point where you're studying and then your friend calls you and you're like, yo, you want to go see Spider-Man again for the 50th time? Yeah, sure, let's go do it. I take a break. Are you committed to what you're doing? But that leads us to the second thing. So the first one being, be fully committed to your work. The second team is, sometimes you got to work as a team. And we say sometimes, I actually mean that all the time. And you're going to be like, well, John, how am I going to work as a team? Some of the things that I got to do is just me. It's just my thing. See, God's kind of cool because he's actually never designed you or me to be on our own. So if you believe that lie, you're gonna be set up for failure. That you got to do everything yourself. It's just you, yourself, and I, or whatever it's called. That doesn't set you up for success. In fact, the number one way that most people get jobs is not actually because they are the best or brightest, or they have the most excellent resume. The number one way people get jobs is how? People who work, tell me. Know somebody, network. That's why references are given on resumes. In fact, most of the time, the resume kind of gets you through the door. It doesn't even get you the job. Your references get you the job. Somebody who knows you, who can speak to you. Because, again, in an interview or resume, you can lie. You can say you were 4.0 GPA on a resume. But you're never going to know what kind of person you're working with until you find out from somebody else who knows you. And so, in this life, to be motivated, to stay motivated, to work hard, is to work together as a team. And you actually see this principle all throughout the story of Nehemiah. In verse 17 and 18, can you put those verses up for me, 17 and 18? It says, but now I said to them, this is Nehemiah saying this, he said, you know me very well what trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire. Let us rebuild the wall. This is the second chapter. Yeah, perfect. Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. Then I told them about the gracious hand of God had been on me and about the conversation with the king. So this was before they started to build the wall. Nehemiah went to all the people and straight up told them, like, you already know what troubles lie here. Let us come together and let us build the wall. And then they replied, yes, let's rebuild the wall. And they began the work. But see, Nehemiah never took credit or ownership of this project. He never said, it was me that did this. It was just me. Everything that he did, every time he did it, it was together. Even in fact, in verse 20, he says, then God of heaven will help us succeed with his servants. We will start rebuilding the wall. It was always working together. See, sometimes for us to actually work hard means we got to work together. And the tendency for us is to sit back and let a few people run in our lives, or let them do the work in our lives. And you're probably wondering, like, what the heck are you talking about, John? Well, how many of y'all live at home? Okay, let's say 90%. Okay, 90%. How many of y'all pay the bills? How many of y'all contributing to the mortgage? Contributing to the mortgage or the rent? Okay, Brianna being the exception. How many of you contribute to groceries? Okay, a few. How many of you contribute to rent insurance? Oh, you're like, what the heck is that, John? Rent insurance? I didn't even know that's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. In case your house burns down, you lose all your stuff, you can get it all back. Right? How many of you drive? How many of you own the car? Okay, so how many of you drive? Contribute to the car payment? Some of you. Okay, contribute to the insurance? Some of you, there we go. Okay, it takes working together as a team. So some of y'all look around and you treat your parents like crap. And yet, most of you don't contribute to anything that they actually do for you. Because y'all have a roof over your head, right? Most part. None of y'all worrying about whether the mortgage or rent's getting paid, right? You just go to bed, wake up, feeling good, right? See, as a family, you work together. You work together as a team. But sometimes, it's kind of like this. Can I get a couple of people to help me? Real quick. Marvin, this is the one where I need your help. Where's Marvin? Marvin's around here? Oh, there he is. Yeah, this is the one I need your help for. I need 2 more people. Okay, I'll take Ryan. I'll take Xavier. Sorry, Jimmy, you volunteer for everything, so I don't want to use it. It's kind of like this, working together. We're going to move this skid off the stage. Okay? This was here, but I want to move it off the stage. So but it does take 4 of us, and I want to make sure that we don't hit the keyboard here. So so if Xavier, you stand on that side. Ryan, you come on this side. This is the easiest way to do it, okay? We lift it like this. Okay, ready? Okay? All right, it's kind of like this. But, oh, Marvin, let's go get it. Okay? And now, we leave the work to them. And they got to decide how they're going to carry it. And they got to shift everything. And they got to do more work. And it just got a little bit harder, didn't it? A little bit harder, didn't it? Yeah. I think if we were to help you, right, it would probably be a little bit easier, right? Especially for Xavier. You look like you're struggling, right? Good? You good? Okay. We should go get those shoes, right? Yeah, let's go get those shoes. Yeah. Okay? So, sometimes this is how we treat people in our lives. We let them do the work for us, and they got to be the ones to do all the work. And they got to put the extra effort. Yeah, try to put it down. Go ahead. Yeah, it's a little bit tougher. Yeah, just a little bit tougher. You know, yeah. A little bit awkward to put it down. And many times, that's okay, you can leave it right there. Thank you. Many times, we get to the point where we step out and we let other people do the work in our lives for us. And they get to the point where they have put in so much that they just say, my hands are going off. I'm stopping them. I'm done. Don't believe me? Well, that's why sometimes your parents are on your case, aren't they? Sometimes they get frustrated at you because you're not contributing, you're not doing the chores, you're not doing this. Sometimes to work hard is to work together, to work as part of a team. It makes a difference. When we do work, when we are doing projects, this, that, when we're working on our resumes, when we're trying to get a job, when we're working at our jobs, we don't just work independently. Many times all the jobs that you guys are working with other people, correct? Yes? You're working with other people. Work together as a team. How are you treating the people around you? Are you just using them? Do I need to use that? Am I cutting it out? Oh, it's from when I fell? Thank you. You want me to use this? I prefer not to. Okay, just tell me when I need to use it, if it really cuts out. We get to a point in our lives that at some point we tell ourselves this lie that we just have to do it by ourselves. I don't need help from other people. I got me. Or and I'll move on and I'll just do my own thing. And all of a sudden, we create illusions of friendships, illusions of needing somebody, and then when we start to try and come back to that person says, listen, I tried to help you, but you let go of your part. So I'm not helping you anymore. And then all of a sudden, we get to the point where now we're by ourselves and we can't do it. So then we get what? Lazy. We stop. So being fully committed to our work and then understanding that most times, we got to work together as a team. You got to respect the people around you, your parents, your leaders. From time to time, some of y'all ask for rides. How often are you thinking? It's not like you're giving them gas money, are you? But many times y'all demanding, oh, when are we leaving? When are we going? What, John, when are we going to McDonald's? Like, I know that you have to shut the building down. I know you got other stuff to do. But like, I need to go get my McDonald's, John. You're driving me. So when are we going? See, that doesn't sound like working together as a team, does it? So many times we got to decide where we want to be. And then the third thing. So first thing, got to be fully committed to our work. Second, working together as a team. And the third thing is take precautions to prevent problems where possible. See, in verse 12 to 14, it says the Jews, I'm going to switch over to this. I could feel your tension from here. I could feel your eyes from up here. To make it easier for you. See, the Jews who lived near the enemy came and told us again and again, they will come from all directions and attack us. So I placed armed guards behind the lowest parts of the wall in the exposed areas. I stationed the people to stand guard by families armed with swords, spears, and bows. See, it's always good to have measures that will help you prevent problems from happening, rather than dealing with the problems when they come. See, sometimes you know when things are going to be a problem. Like when you're in school, you know your assignments are due when they're due. Rather than getting to the last minute to do them and stressing yourself out and then getting a poor grade because you didn't really put the best effort, if you were to prevent the problem and actually space it out, do your work where you're supposed to, and not stress yourself out, you'd get a good grade. See, some of you know that you got to get to work at 8 o'clock, but you're perpetually late. But John, the bus this, the subway that. Well, then you got to find different ways to prevent the problem from happening. See, when I was working, and this is not to gas myself up, it's just quite honestly, I just refused to be late because I didn't want to be. But I was living in Oshawa and I had to work in Etobicoke. Now, on an average day with no traffic, what is that? 45, 50 minutes drive? You add rush hour into it, that's another hour, so it's 2 hours. And I had to be there at 8:30 every day, Monday to Friday. So, I used to leave at 7 in the morning. Guess what? First couple of times, 5-10 minutes late. That's no bueno, so I had to adjust. Okay, I'll start leaving at 6:30. Leaving at 6:30. Oh no, guess what? Car crash here. Accident there. Still running 5-10 minutes late. Then I had to decide, am I just going to keep saying that, hey, I can't control those things, it's just what it is? Or am I going to make an adjustment to prevent those problems? So I used to leave my house at 5:30, 5:45 usually, the latest, to get there for 8:30. And usually I'd get there by like 8:10, 8:15 if it was a really good day. Like if there was nothing going on and I was early. Now, nobody gave me credit. My boss never gave me credit because he expected me in at 8:30 every single day. My credit was I got paid for the job that I did. But I was committed to my work. And I put measures, precautions in place to prevent problems from happening. So, how many of you are willing to work hard and be motivated enough to not be lazy? How many of you are willing to prevent problems by putting precautions in place? Set yourself up. That's a tough one. That's a really hard one. See, it continues on in verse 18, says, all the builders had a sword belted to their side, and the trumpeters stayed with them to sound the alarm. They even devised a system where the trumpet players would play at a certain part if they saw the enemy coming, and that way you knew exactly where to come and be ready, so that if the enemy came to that spot, all the people were going to be there. Even though they were all working all over the place, if they heard the trumpet in a certain section, they knew all to rush to that spot and prepare for battle. See, putting these measures in takes a long time, takes extra effort. The problem is some people find that the extra effort isn't worth it, doesn't seem necessary. So they don't feel like putting in the extra effort to put these precautions in. And that's why most people fail. Most people can't build the work that they want to do in their lives. That's why a lot of leaders in my position fail. Because they don't want to put the work, the precautions in to protect the work that they do. And then they set themselves up for failure and make mistakes and things that cost them their leadership, cost them their influence. Don't believe me? There's lots of people in my position who've done that. In fact, early in my life, I did that. I didn't take precautions and I made lots of mistakes. Because I wasn't willing. I felt that the precautions were unnecessary, with extra work that I didn't need to do. So I didn't put it in. But now, I take every precaution out there from me. Because I'm willing to put the precautions in so to protect the work that I put in. That's why Maxine, every time you want to hang out, what do you have to do? Every time you ask to hang out with me, what is the things that you have to do? Right. Why is that you know how to do that? There you go. I've put that precaution so much so that Maxine, when she wants to hang out with me, already knows to ask somebody else. And just get there already. And just say, I already talked to this person. They're going to come with me. Can you give me a ride? I need to go to the mall. Will you come hang out with the mall? By the way, I already talked to Marvin. He's going to come with us. And those are the precautions that are put in place. And I've drilled that into most of you. Tanya, same thing. Tanya, when she asks for a ride, because she just lives up the road but needs the ride sometimes, first thing she does is ask for the ride and says, oh, hold on, let me make sure that somebody else is coming with you. The precautions are there. Why? Because I'm protecting the work that I've put in. I'm not setting myself up so that and leaving an exposed area in the wall where the enemy can come and attack. And it takes work to do that. One of the reasons we have RY groups, and I put leaders in place here for you, is so that you have a chance to protect yourself. You have a chance to connect with somebody when you're struggling. You have a chance to put precautions and measures in your life so that you can succeed, so that you don't have to stumble, so you don't have to make the mistakes all over again. When you get, and we're going to get into this next month, but when you get your little boo thing, right, you have leaders there that can help you and call you up to the higher standards so that you can protect what you got with your boo thing. Because most of y'all be thinking, not with the big brain. You know what I mean. Okay? And you make decisions. You try to tell me I know what I'm doing. You try to tell me like you know what you're doing. Okay? And then 6 months later, it ain't working out for you. I wonder why. Because you don't have precautions and you don't even know how to put them in. But all of a sudden, there's leaders in your life that can help you put those precautions in. But are you willing to put the work? Are you motivated to do it the right way? Or do you want to be lazy and say, nah, John, it's too much work for me. I just want to be able to hold hands. I just want to make out. I just want to be able to say like, yo, I love you. And guess what, though? At some point, I'm going to tell you a secret. At some point, making out ain't enough. It ain't enough. So guess what you're going to do with no precautions? You're going to push for more. Jimmy. You okay? You good? Okay, you good? Do you need Rashawn's inhaler? You okay? All right, just making sure, bro. I'm checking on you, man. I'm taking precautions, all right? You got to be willing. If you want to stay motivated, you want to do it the right way, you want to put the work in, you want to succeed, you got to be willing to put precautions in to protect your work, to protect who you are, so that you can keep going, you can keep growing, so that nobody steals something from you and leaves you destitute, leaves you with nothing, leaves you worthless, leaves you hopeless. You got to be willing to do that. It's 3 things. What's the first one? I did say that y'all had to put some work in, right? What's the first one? Be fully committed. What's the second one? Y'all don't tell me. They got to tell me. What's the second one? You got to work together as a team. What's the third one? Put precautions in. Protect yourself. Protect your work. The fourth thing, there's 5 things. This is the fourth thing. Turn to God for help when facing any problems. See, in verse 7 to 9, when you see a bunch of different people showing up on the scene, just start at verse 8 there for me, GP. So a bunch of all these territories, the enemies are seeing that these guys are trying to rebuild, and now they're coming for them. Nehemiah writes, he says, they all made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw us into confusion. But we prayed to our God and guarded the city day and night to protect ourselves. They didn't start protecting nothing till they prayed to God first. Because God gives the counsel first. God's got the resources first. God's got everything for you that you need to succeed in life. God's got all the anxiety medication, all the depression medication that you could ever need. It's just found in His book. Will you crack it open and read it? And get everything you need to succeed and go out there and do damage for the world and work hard and know that you actually put the work in. See, God's got it all. Are you willing to ask him for help? He's got help for your direction. He's got help for your motivation. He's got help to get you to serve and know that you don't need to serve to get credit back. In fact, half the things that I do, nobody knows that I do. Many times I come here on Sunday morning and things are done and people are like, oh my goodness, all these things are done. They have no idea that I'm here on Saturday night putting in 5-6 hours to get ready for Sunday. You have no idea that Rashawn comes in at 12 o'clock in the afternoon every single Friday to get half the stuff ready for Friday. Ain't nobody giving him credit and ain't nobody patting him on the back. You can if you want after. But when we struggle, we got to be willing to turn to God for help, to give us the direction, give us the motivation to do the things that we do, to work hard. But this is why we always meet together. This is why we're intentional with what we do with the games. Now, it could have been real easy, by the way, just so you know, for all of you, for the last 3 weeks, it could have been really easy just to say, nah, F it, we'll just close up shop. We're not going to do Friday nights. We'll just wait till COVID's over or it gets better and then we'll come back. Because it would have been easier. Then we don't have to convince people to come out on Friday nights. I don't have to convince parents to let you guys go on Friday nights. It just would have been easier for 3 weeks or for the month of January just to shut down like almost everybody else did. It would have been real easy. In fact, I will let you in on a little secret. From me to you, it would have been real easy for me personally. Because for the last 3 weeks, I haven't even lived at my house. My whole family, me and my kids, and I got a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old, we had to move from where we live into a completely different place. And we literally had less than 24 hours notice to do that. Now, I'm not going to get into the reasons why, because it'll take too long. But for the last 3 weeks, that's where we are. We're living in a place that's not our home, in a basement apartment somewhere up on Steeles, where half the time the lights don't work, half the time the Wi-Fi's out. For sure on Monday when that snowstorm came, ain't no shovel to be found to get myself out. So now I'm stuck Monday, Tuesday at this basement apartment. And Monday, no Wi-Fi. So you already know I was miserable. So it would have been real easy for me, guys, to say, you know what? I ain't feeling it. Ain't feeling Friday. I'm definitely not getting paid for this, so why am I going to put the work in? Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to motivate myself to do this? I don't even know if they're going to show up. So why even bother? But see, that's the thing. My motivation, I promise you, my motivation doesn't start with me. My motivation starts with the God who created me. My motivation starts when I said, God, I need your help. God, I got nothing left. I am not even in my home where I could get my strength back because I need to be in my environment. If any of you know me, you know that I value when I'm at home, I'm at home. I don't talk to nobody. I don't look at nobody. I'm like sitting there with my Xbox and building Legos, doing my own thing. And when I'm not in my environment, I'm miserable. And I know that for the last 3 weeks, I've been kind of miserable. But yet, for me to stay motivated, to keep working hard, to do the things that I'm called to do, I have to turn to God for my strength and resources. Got to be able to say, man, the guy who made me, you made me this way. You know exactly how I work. I need your help. I don't got it. I don't have it. I don't have the things that I need to build for the next 3 weeks. I need your help. To stay motivated, to keep working hard, I need your help. To not get lazy, I need your help. And that's where I had to start. I had to turn to God, just like Nehemiah had to do. He had to turn to God. He had to pray to God. And then they stood guard day and night. What's it going to take for you to work hard? What's it going to take for you to keep striving for what's best in your life, to keep motivating yourself when nobody else will motivate you? Because just so you know, I'm my biggest motivator because God is my biggest motivator. I have to turn to him constantly, daily, every time to keep me going, to keep me on the level that I'm called to live at, to hold the type of influence that I have. I have to keep turning to him every single time. Okay. My battery's dead. Rashawn, what happened to the batteries?
I wish I could tell you.
All right, I'm on B5 apparently. Yo, tonight is a night. God does not, or the enemy does not want you all to hear God's word tonight. What's the first thing? Be fully committed to the work. What's the second thing? Work together as a team. What's the third thing? Take precautions. What's the fourth thing? Turn to God for help. Last thing, help and encourage one another. In doing the work, it's always important to encourage and motivate each other when you're facing problems. It's real easy when you face a problem to only think about your problem. It's real easy. But kind of like a car, when a car stops working, when a car's got a problem, some of y'all try to fix the problem. Sometimes some of y'all go to the mechanic, or maybe your parents do this, I don't know. But they go to the mechanic. I know my parents try to do this. Try to tell the mechanic how to fix the car. Like, oh no, it's this. Oh no, it's that. Oh no, it's this. And they start getting in the way of the person who can actually fix the problem and don't actually get the problem fixed. So many times in our lives, we actually try to fix our own problems. But the truth is, sometimes we just need an encouragement from somebody else. And that opens up our window of opportunity and allow God to come in and actually fix our problems. Take care of the things that we actually need taken care of. Many times what you can do for somebody else will change the perspective of your world. Will totally change the outlook of your world. Your problem will be insignificant to the type of help that you can provide somebody else. At least it will feel insignificant. That's why for me, the last 3 weeks, as big and bad as it felt, to me personally, it was insignificant compared to what I can do for somebody else. The reason why I have to even do that is why I can say that that is not as big of a deal compared to the help I can provide by moving out of my house. Because the reason why I moved out is so that my brother-in-law and his kids could stay here because they weren't able to fly to Kenya when they were supposed to. So they're stuck here for 2 extra weeks and they needed a place to stay. And so we gave up our place so that they could stay there because my brother-in-law doesn't have his wife anymore. She's dead. She's gone. And he's got 3 boys to raise. And at least my in-laws who live with us can help him. So the sacrifice on our part was to move our family out of our house so that they could be there and have the support that they need. And yeah, it sucks. It's an inconvenience to me and my family. But because I was willing to help and encourage somebody else, it was worth the sacrifice. My problem ain't that big compared to the help I provided by doing it. Sometimes the help that you can provide, the words that you can say to somebody, can change their entire outlook for their day. I'm telling you, some of you sometimes, when you step outside of yourself, and this is a secret, but when you step outside of yourself and you come to me and say like, hey John, I hope you're having a good day, you have zero idea. You think that it doesn't matter to me, but you have no idea how much that changes my world sometimes. It could even change my hour sometimes, because I could be having the worst hour in that moment, and sometimes you can say something to encourage me and it changes my whole outlook for the day. It puts me right back into the place that I'm called to be. Yeah, that's right. Some of y'all do that, and you don't even know that you do that. So, that's the cool thing about Nehemiah, because he was exactly that type of person. In verse 14, he says, then I looked over the situation. I called together the nobles and the rest of the people and said to them, don't be afraid of the enemy. Remember the Lord who is great and glorious, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. See, some of y'all have the gift of encouragement. Some of y'all, that's natural for you. You can just say really great things to people. You can look at them and you can just be like, hey, I hope you're having a great day. You know, it looks like you're feeling low, like you're awesome, you're great. You know, you're a great person. I know like it feels like you're not winning today, but I promise you're going to be winning. Something simple like that changes the world for somebody else. Imagine if we could just do that a little bit more for each other. Let me say something that's outrageous. Imagine if you could say that to your parents. Oh, shoot. That you could actually tell them, like, Mom and Dad, like, I really hope you had a great day. I don't thank you enough, but I thank you for all you do. I love you.
That's like swearing for y'all. But imagine if you could say that. But right now I can feel some of y'all like, oh, it don't matter. It don't matter if I say that to my parents. You have no idea the words that you say, how it impacts a person. You have no idea. And that's why if we can build and encourage each other, it motivates us to keep working hard. Motivates us to keep going forward. It motivates us to not get lazy in doing the things that God's called us to do and the things that we're passionate to do. Yeah, I know. Tonight was like, oh, John, like why? Why are you so always up in our face? Why are you always like this? Why can't you just chill out for 2 seconds? I'm sorry, I can't. Because God is calling me not to be lazy. He's motivating me to work hard. He's looking at me and saying, I've built you, I've created you, and I'm calling you for something greater than what it is. The way our world lives, that's just right here. But John, I'm calling you to be up here. And I got way more for you if you're willing to do it. If you're willing to go my way, if you're willing to trust me, if you're willing to call on me, if you're willing to submit to me and put the work in, I promise that I will protect you. I will have your back. And how I know that? How do I know that? Because for 2,000 years, it's recorded in His Word, in God's Word. How He's always protected His people, how He's always come through for His people, how He's always had His people's back. And you and I, we're His people. We're called to be His people. So, you can try to work hard out of your own strength, but that's usually very limited. It's kind of like a sprint. You can only sprint for so long, and then what happens? You stop. You get tired. That's what happens when you work in your strength, in your own strength. It's limited. But see, with God's help and with His people around you, it's unlimited. Working hard never gets tiring. In fact, I get annoyed and angry when I cannot work hard. Like when I had to take my COVID vaccine, that second one, like I was like half speed. Like my mind was there, but my body was half speed. Like it literally felt like I was going like this. Like even Matei said today, Matei, what'd you say to me today? When I was downstairs, when we were walking downstairs, you said something to me today about walking or whatever. What'd you say? Do you remember what you said? Remember with the duct tape, remember when I gave you the duct tape? Useless. Because I don't remember something. I was hoping you would. You said something about walking. Remember like you were slow or I was fast or something like that. I can't remember exactly what you said. I walked too fast. And that's right. Now I remember what I said to you. You said, John, you just walk too fast. And I'm like, yeah, it's because I'm doing stuff. I got stuff to do. That's just the speed that I work at because I want to work hard. So when I was subject to that stupid COVID vaccine, I had to take it, and I was working at half speed, it really, really bothered me that I could not work hard. I could not do the things that God's put in front of me. But see, that's the beauty of it, is that I don't actually ever have to do this on my own strength. It's why I don't get tired. It's why the new ideas are always constantly popping in my head. It's why we're always taking things to another level here. I don't get tired of doing God's work because I start with God first. My ability to work hard starts with Him. And when I start with Him and I surround myself with encouragement, I surround myself with people, when I'm committed to my work, when I'm willing to work as a team, when I'm willing to put the precautions in, then all of a sudden, I'm set up to succeed. I'm set up to work hard. I'm confident, I'm secure in my ability because God's given me the ability to work hard. That's why in 52 days, Nehemiah and his crew of people were able to build a wall when every army around them kept saying they were going to come and attack and never did. Because they were the ones who were intimidated. It's like when Dave was standing there, he would have, not that you were, but he would have been intimidated of me coming in. And that's what it was like for the people. They were intimidated by what this Jewish group of people could do with their wall. And they threatened to attack and never did. And they never gave up because they really believed in what God could do for them when they put the work in. So tonight, the end of the series, yeah, 2022 could look like absolute trash for you. It's only 1 month in. You had to go online, in person. And I'm sure many of you thinking like, I don't even know. Next week it could be back to online. Who knows? Because you never know. Because there's no promise that our government can keep right now that they'll actually keep, as they've shown in the last 2 years. So it feels like, I don't know what my year could look like. I don't know what it could be for me. So what do I have to do, John? I don't even know what I can do. But just like this little group of people didn't know when those armies were coming, they didn't know when they were going to get attacked, they didn't know how they were going to build and how they were going to protect all at the same time. God's always with you when you are willing to put the work in and put it on Him. If you're willing to come together and tell yourself and surround yourself with good people and say like, yeah, I got this. Yeah, guys, just keep it with me. Keep it with me. Just stay with me. If you're willing to say, I got this. If you're willing to say, I can put the hard work in. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to surround myself with people that are actually going to help me succeed and move forward. All of a sudden, you set yourself up for success. You set yourself up to actually win. Because the alternative is exactly what we talked about last week. Lazy. Not doing. Not trying. You know how many people have really good ideas? Lots of people. Do you know how many people execute on their ideas? Very small amount of people. Because fear and lazy always sets in. The intimidation of hard work, just like when Kabir stood there and saw Dave and kind of backed up. And that's real. But that's what's cool about God, because God says that I will actually come in and help you. And I will give you the confidence and the ability to do these things. So how many of you are willing to work hard this year? How many of you are willing to change your lives for the better this year? Because I would love to change every single one of your lives. I would love for you to live, and this is a poor word, so I don't have another word to say, but I'd love for you to live the high that I live on every day. Because even when I have terrible weeks, I don't have terrible weeks. I promise you. Because I serve a God, I work with a God that is so for me that even on my worst weeks and days, He's still saying, John, I have so much more for you. I'm going to surround you with good people. I'm going to surround you with the right people. I'm going to give you purpose if you're willing to put the work in. I'm going to change your outlook if you're willing to put the work in. So this year could be your year. It's going to be mine. It's not could be for me, by the way. It's going to be mine. Because I serve a God, just like He helped Nehemiah build that wall in 54 days. I serve a God that could do and can do the impossible. So 2022 is my year. How many of you have the confidence to claim that for yourself? And then how many of you have the audacity to put the work in this year? To succeed, to see those things come to life, to see you grow beyond the path or beyond the way that you never thought that you could grow. To mature, to gain perspective, to have friendships and relationships that are far beyond those of even your friends. That's all within your ability to do this year. But that's up to you. Are you willing to put the work in? Are you willing to work hard this year? So I'm going to invite you to bow your heads and close your eyes. And some of you, last week, we talked about being lazy, and I gave some of you the opportunity this week to admit, hey, there's some areas in my life that I'm lazy to. There's some areas that I got to work on, and I got to surrender that to God. And I got to open up my window of opportunity to let God come in and work in that area. But now, this is your step to decide that you want to actually step in with His help and actually put the work in. And commit yourself to saying, hey, I'm not going to contend with just admitting that I'm lazy, but I'm actually going to turn around and put the hard work in. And some of you got dreams, you've got passions, you got things on your plates that God's put in front of you. God's designed you for. He's given you insight on that nobody else has. And maybe you've been scared or fearful that you can't do those things, that you'll never be able to do those things. You don't have the right network, you don't have the right people around you, you don't have the right support to do those things or pursue those things. Or maybe you feel like you're too young. That's a lie, by the way. But are you willing this put the hard work in for you, for yourself? Are you willing to give God a chance to show you who you are while he reveals who he is to you? Because this year could be your year. But are you willing to put the work in? And that's an honest reflection that I'm inviting you and God. This is just between you and God. To be willing to say, like, you know what? I'm just going to let him know that this year I'm willing to put the hard work in. I'm going to start somewhere, but I'm willing to put the hard work in. This is just between you and God. Ain't nobody else looking around. If that's you tonight, you want to take that step and say, like, you know what, John? Really put the hard work in. I've admitted I'm lazy, but I haven't taken that step to actually put the work in. I haven't done the things to stay motivated and be motivated in who I am and what I do. And I want to take that step, John, tonight. I want to be willing to stay motivated, be willing to put the work in, to be committed, to work as a team, to put the precautions in, to trust God, ask him for his help, live beyond myself and encourage others and help others as they help me. If that's you tonight, it's just between you and God, nobody else looking around. I want to give you that space to just slip your hand up and just say, hey, that's me. I want to put the hard work in. I want this year to be my year. I don't want to live like I lived last year or the year before. I want to see who I can be in who I'm called to be, who exactly I'm purposed to be. And if that's you, on the count of 3, nobody else looking around, I'm asking you to take a step of faith. Be bold here with this decision. This is for you. This ain't for nobody else. This is just you. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you for your hands. You can put those down. Let me pray for you. Father, we thank you, God, for your word. We thank you, God, for the story of Nehemiah, Lord. And God, we just look and we're grateful that you never, ever give up on us. That even when we deserve nothing less than just you leaving us alone because we just don't listen, that you still don't give up on us. That you still pursue us and you're still after us and you still want the best for us. And Father, right now, God, for every single hand that went up in here, God, that says, I don't want to live a life of lazy or fear, but I want to live a life of purpose and working hard and putting in my part as you put in yours. I pray, God, that right now, God, that you would give every single one of these students and leaders who put their hands up a sense of boldness, a sense of belonging, a sense of acceptance, a sense of security right now, to know that they are called, that they are not forgotten, and they have purpose. And I pray, God, that as they are willing and able to start putting in the work and being committed, God, that you would reveal yourself to them. You would start to show them different parts of who they are that they can excel in, that you've crafted and you created for them, that things that come real easy for them, God, I pray that you would reveal those things to them, that they can build themselves upon those things. And I pray, God, that tonight, God, that every single person, God, who struggles with their identity, who feels like they aren't here or they're here by accident or they aren't who they're supposed to be, I pray right now, God, that you would give a sense of closure and purpose for them. That, God, every single student and leader here tonight, God, matters and their lives are important. Their calling is important. Their worth is important, God. Their ideas and dreams are important. And I pray, God, that you would fuel them with a desire, God, to work hard and a humility to work with you, Lord, to submit their hard work to you. And as they do that, God, I pray, God, you would lift them up, you would call them up, you would give them such passion and a drive to live life with purpose and legacy and influence, Lord. That's just so far, just beyond their dreams. So God, we just thank you, God, tonight. We thank you for your word. We thank you, God, that you care about us, that you love us, that you don't just leave us in the COVID shackle of what we're living in, Lord, but you care about us and you're calling us to keep going and keep growing and keep thriving. And I thank you, God, that you've given us this time together, that we can connect, we can enjoy your presence, and we can connect with each other as well. Thank you, Lord. We pray all these things in your name. And everyone said, amen.